Updated October 22, 2017 161,303. Later this week, we should get a chance to read previously secret files about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963. That's because President Donald Trump announced on Twitter that he didn't plan to stand in the way of the scheduled releases. The National Archives has until Thursday U.S. time to disclose the remaining files, expected to include more than 3,000 documents that have never been seen by the public and more than 30,000 that had been released with redactions. The assassination has stirred conspiracy theories for decades, and all eyes will be on whether the new files shed any light on them. Americans are suspicious of the official story. On November 22, 1963, Kennedy was shot in the head and neck as he rode through Dallas in an open car. The Warren Commission was formed just a week afterwards to officially examine what happened. The following September, it issued an 888-page report with 26 volumes of supporting material. It found that Lee Harvey Oswald, who was shot and killed by Texas nightclub owner Jack Ruby 2 days after Kennedy's assassination, acted alone when he mortally wounded the 35th president. However, in 2013, a Gallup poll found that only 30% of Americans believed that Oswald was the lone gunman. Some have argued the CIA played a part, while others have pointed the finger at organized crime or thank Cuban President Fidel Castro. Even the president has promoted conspiracies. Last year, Mr. Trump linked the father of Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz, who at the time was his rival for the Republican presidential nomination, to Oswald. His father was with Lee Harvey Oswald prior to Oswald's being, shot, he told the breakfast talk show Fox Friends. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. What is this, right prior to his being shot, and nobody brings it up? The allegation was based on a report by National Enquirer, a supermarket tabloid known for celebrity gossip and alien sightings. Mr. Cruz responded, "I'm going to tell you what I really think of Donald Trump. This man is a pathological liar." Mr. Cruz's father, Rafael, a Christian preacher who was born in Cuba, called the allegations that he was pictured with Oswald in New Orleans before the assassination ludicrous. Trump's political ally wrote a book titled The Man Who Killed Kennedy. The case against LBJ. Roger Stone was an advisor to Mr. Trump's election campaign. In 2013, on the 50th anniversary of Kennedy's death, he released a book which claimed to prove that Lyndon B. Johnson, Kennedy's vice president who became president upon his death, was not only involved in JFK's assassination, but was in fact the mastermind. This wasn't a new idea. Director Oliver Stone's film JFK, released in 1991, had suggested that Johnson may have been involved in a conspiracy. Last week, Mr. Stone told far-right conspiracy theorist and radio show host Alex Jones that he had personally urged the president to make the JFK files public. He added that a very good White House source, but not the president, had told him the Central Intelligence Agency, and specifically its director Mike Pompeo, had been lobbying the president furiously not to release these documents. Why? Because I believe they show that Oswald was trained, nurtured and put in place by the Central Intelligence Agency. It sheds very bad light on the deep state, Mr. Stone said. After the president announced his decision, Mr. Stone tweeted, "Experts aren't expecting major bombshells from this release." However, in the 1990s, John Tunheim, now a judge, was the chairman of the Assassination Records Review Board, the independent agency that made public many assassination records and decided how long others could remain secret. He says it's unlikely the newly released documents will contain any big revelations. However, he believes the trove of files may provide insight into Oswald's trip to Mexico City weeks before the killing, during which he visited the Soviet and Cuban embassies. Oswald's stated reason for going was to get visas that would allow him to enter Cuba and the Soviet Union, according to the Warren Commission. But much about the trip remains unknown. Mr. Tunheim said the files that had been withheld in full were those the Assassination Records Review Board deemed not believed relevant. But he said there may be nuggets of information in the files that they didn't realize were important 2 decades ago. Philip Shannon, the author of a book on the assassination, wasn't expecting any major bombshells either. But he agrees they may shed light on Oswald's activities in Mexico City. From the record we already have, we know he met there with Soviet spies and Cuban spies and other people who might have wanted to see Kennedy dead, Mr. Shannon said. It's going to be very interesting to see what else the government knew about the threat Oswald might pose, how much more they learned about his trip in Mexico City, and whether or not they bungled evidence to suggest he was a threat. Mr. Shannon said it would be interesting, too, to see if there was anything in the documents to substantiate Mr. Trump's comments about Rafael Cruz. It's the president's favorite conspiracy theory about the Kennedy assassination, but I don't think there is, he said. ABC Wires Topics World Politics, 20th Century, Donald Trump, United States First posted October 22, 2017 132,421.